All right, guys. So this video is going to cover us graphing trigonomic transformations, okay? So we can take a look at our function right here. It says y equals 2 sine parentheses 3 theta. And I know a lot of people say they're like, that's a zero thing. It's called theta. Minus 90 in parentheses plus 1. So the easiest thing I think to do is to figure out what's our a, b, and c. We could do that first. So I know before we were pulling out b and then solving c later. It might be easier just to do all at once so we know what our a, b, and c is. So a is amplitude. Actually, let me add it up here. A is amplitude. It's how high and how low it goes. B gives the period. So it's either 360 divided by b or 2 pi divided by b equals your period. C is a horizontal shift. Horizontal shift. Okay, so that's going left to right. If it's theta minus a number, we're going to the right. If it's theta plus a number, we're going to the left. Okay, so this is actually on that paper I gave you when we first started graphing them. But I'm going to go ahead and we'll leave this up here for now. Let's take a look. So I would say make sure the hardest thing is just getting out this b. So this is our b. So b is equal to 3. We need to divide our b from both sides. So it's going to be y equals 2 sine, because when we divide it out, we can pull it out into the front. 3, put our 3 up here. Then it's going to be 3 theta divided by 3 minus 90 divided by 3 plus 1. Okay, so these 3's cancel out. So it's going to be y equals 2 sine of 3 theta minus 90 divided by 3 is 30. Okay, and with a bracket. So just remember too, whatever this is, it's going to cancel out just to give you theta. So if you already know your b, know when you cancel it out, it leaves you with theta. So hopefully that helps you guys in the process. So our a is 2, our b is 3, our c is 30, and our d is plus 1, which is just 1. See how it says minus 30 right here? I'm going to go ahead and use a marker real quick. See, it says minus 30. If it's a number, theta minus a number, then we're going to be going to the right. So make sure to keep that in mind, that we're going to be moving to the right by 30 degrees. So we're going to the right. And then when it's positive, we're going up. And if it's negative, we're going down. So we're going to the right and up. Okay, so we know our amplitude is 2 and our b is 3, so let's find our period. So period is going to equal to, it's either going to be 360 divided by b or 2 pi divided by b. Because we're dealing with degrees in this problem, and you could tell by this y-axis, because we're dealing with degrees, we're going to be using 360 divided by b. So I'm going to go ahead and erase the other one. So it's going to be 360 divided by 3, and that's going to give me 120. So my period is 120 degrees. And this one is a sine function. Sine starts at 0. Let me do a thicker dot. Sine starts at 0, and it's going to end at 0 on the 120 mark. Okay, so let me erase this top part because we already talked about it. So I do have that paper that I handed out. It's not meant to confuse anyone. It's just kind of knowing that, well, I'm starting here, ending here. I know at most I'm going to be at a 2. That's my amplitude right here. And the lowest is going to be a -2, right? So at this point, what I need to figure out is how we're going to be doing what points are we going to have? Where is this going to go from here? So I have the chart, but we'll kind of go over it right now. Oop, hold on. So we're going to do our x-axis and our y-axis. Like normal, we're going to have our point x comma y. So 1/4 of the period, so 1/4 of 120 means we're going to be a quarter of our period for a sine function, means we're going to be at our positive amplitude. Okay? So 120 times 1/4 is the same as 120 divided by 4, which is 30. So at 30 degrees, we know it's 30 because half of 60 is 30. At 30 degrees, it's going to be positive amplitude, which is 2. Okay? And then we know halfway through our period, so we're going to be taking half of our period. One half of 120 is 60, so at 60 degrees, we're going to be at 0. And then we're going to take 3/4 of 120, which gives me 90 degrees. And at 90 degrees, which is 3/4 of the sine, we're going to be at our negative amplitude, which is going to be, for this problem, -2. Okay, so it should look something, that's a really big dot. Should look something roughly like this, okay? Now, I would highly suggest to see that, let me see if I can do like a highlighter or something. This right here is going to be one whole period. So we're just going to be repeating this over and over. So see how I'm going to start again right here. I'm going to go up 2, down 2, down 2, up 2. I went one full other period, okay? So it's just being mindful of making sure that we're repeating the same pattern over and over again. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Oops, I'm going to change it back to black. Okay, so I'm just going to keep repeating the same pattern over and over. And it would go on infinitely. Looks like a little roller coaster. Okay. So this is our graph with the amplitude and period, okay? Now we need to transform it. So I'm going to add a different color that stands out. We already used those colors. Let's do blue. Neon blue. Okay. So I know I'm going 30 degrees to the right, and I'm going 1 up. So remember, 30 degrees is 1 block over. This is 30 degrees. So we're going 30 degrees, so 1 block over, and then we're also going 1 up. So literally everyone goes 1 over, 1 up. So that's going to be my new dot. 1 over, 1 up, 1 over, 1 up, 1 over, 1 up, 1 over, 1 up, and then you just continue the pattern. Okay. And then your blue would be your final answer. So if you need to do like a marker to make it stand out or a colored pen, something along those lines, that would be totally fine. I'm just going to thicken mine up a little bit. Okay, and this would be your final answer. Let's take a look at this one. So same thing as before, I'm going to be putting this back into the same form. So this is going to be y equals a cosine of b theta minus c plus d. Okay, so this is going to be, I'll write it down here, y equals 4 cosine theta over 3 minus pi over 6 plus 2. So in order to get my a, b, c, and d, I need to pull this b out. I know my b is 1/3. So I'm going to bring it out to the front and divide both of these by 1/3. So that's going to be y equals 4 cosine of 1/3. And then, but remember, if I distributed back in, you would still get this same number. So it's going to be theta over 3 divided by 1/3 minus pi over 6 divided by 1/3. Remember I said before that when you cancel out your b, you should just be left with theta, which is true. I'm just going to show you in pink that it is true. So theta divided by 3 divided by 1/3. Remember, when you divide a fraction, you can flip the second fraction and multiply across. So it's the same as saying theta over 3 times 3 over 1. So it's 3 theta over 3, cancels out, and you just get theta. So I can replace all of this right here with theta. You should already know that it's going to cancel out, but if you want to make sure you have the right number, make sure it's working out, that's perfectly fine too. Uh-oh. Okay. So it's going to be y equals 4 cosine of 1/3 theta. Then we got to figure this out. So it's pi over 6 divided by 1/3, which is the same as writing pi over 6 times 3 over 1. We get 3 pi over 6. I can divide the top and the bottom by 3. So I'm going to get pi over 2. And that would be your final for your C. Okay. So it's this number right here. Plus 2. So my A is 4. My B is 1/3. My C is pi over 2. And my D is 2. See how it says a minus pi over 2? That means I'm going to go to the right. See how it's a plus 2? I'm going to go up. Okay, so I can go ahead and mark my amplitude. So we're at 4 and -4. Okay. And then to find my period, it's going to be, instead of 360 like we did before, we're in radians. So now it's going to be 2 pi divided by 1/3, which is the same as writing 2 pi times 3 over 1. 2 times 3 is 6, divided by 1 is still 6, so we get 6 pi. What does that mean for cosine? Cosine means we start at the positive amplitude and we end at the positive amplitude. 1/4 of the period, which is 6 pi. One-fourth of the period, we're going to be at 0 for our y. 1/2 of the period, we're going to, why did I put that right there? I put 0. We're going to be at the negative amplitude. And at 3/4, we're going to be at 0 again. Okay, so 6 divided by 4 is equivalent of 3 pi over 2. So that's equivalent about 1.5 pi. So about 1.5 pi, we're going to be at 0. It's about 1. This is 2, so 1.5 is right in the middle. And then 6 divided by 2 is 3. So at 3 pi, you're going to be at the negative amplitude. And then this is going to be 3 times 6 is 18. And then divided by 4 is going to give us 3. Oh, I'm sorry. So it's going to be 18 divided by 4, and that's going to be 9 over 2 pi, which is about 4.5 pi. So around 4.5, we're going to be back at 0. So like I said before, you want to continue the pattern. At this point, I would say just remember we're starting the period over. So when we start our period here, we're going to go to the right 1.5 squares and then down 4. And then we're going to go right 1.5 squares and then down 4. Then we're going to go right 1.5, 1.5, up 4. And we will continue that pattern. So for this one, we're going to go right 1.5 squares, down 4. We're going to go right 1.5 squares, down 4. Then I would continue back up, but just based on this size of the graph that we currently have, this is where I'm going to stop. Okay, so now I could graph my initial cosine function. Now I need to do my horizontal shift and vertical shift. So my C means I'm going pi to the 2 right, so half a pi. So we're going about half a square space over. And then we're going to be going 2 up. 1, 2. So right half, up 2. I'm going to do that for every point. Right half, up 2. 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 Half, up 2. Something like that. Okay. So our graph looks something like this. And that kind of looks a little wonky, but this would be your final answer. Okay. And then, so the blue be your final. You can leave it as is. I would suggest just to mark it just so it kind of stands out a little bit more. I think the most important thing to know is what is your ABC, then find your period, and then from there you can graph. So if it's sine, start at 0, end at 0. If it's cosine, start at the amplitude, end at the amplitude, right? You want to continue the pattern. You want to find a quarter, halfway, and 3/4 of the way through, because that's going to tell you if you're at 0, negative amplitude, positive amplitude, wherever you're going to be on top of your graph. And then if you have any more questions about this or feel still a little bit lost, let me know specific questions about either these problems or the one you're working on.